All right, good afternoon, everybody, and it is so great to be back on the this carpet. It's like a friendly home place. So, who's ready to see some cool shit that banks can't do today? That sucked. One more time. Who's ready to see some cool shit that banks can't do today? Yes. All right. As Chris was kind of mentioned, my name is EJ. I'm from DBSI. We are full service design build, banking equipment, digital signage, the one throat to choke under one roof. And we get really charged up when a client says to us, look, you might think we're crazy, but what if we tried this? And that's the thing, that's why I love like BankSpaces. And while last year and now this year, it's really been one of the ultimate joys to come to this particular event. And last year, there was this aha moment. So I'm very proudly a former TD employee. And for those of you who were here last year, you remember Martha McGinnis brought up the automated treat machine. And you know, we don't work with TD. I can't credit, this at all. But if you were here last year, there was this moment when this picture came up on the screen, and I felt like I was at like when Apple was announcing a new product. It was like, damn, that's all, yeah, let's go. And people are cheering and everything. Not like when Microsoft brought out Windows and they played Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones. Do you remember that video? Add that to your YouTube list, like from the things you found out last night. And so that moment at BankSpaces 24 inspired what I'm going to spend the next little bit talking to you guys about. That moment where we're like, well, why can't we do that? Why can't we push a boundary just a little bit further and do some cool shit that maybe banks can't really do, but I don't know, maybe can. So I have two little bits of sort of disclaimer as we get into today's presentation. First and foremost, you're gonna see some cool shit. ChatGPT had nothing to do with the creation of anything you're going to see during the course of today's presentation, with the exception of these two images, which I created last week when I asked ChatGPT to create an image of the exterior and the interior of a typical bank branch in the United States. You all just went, damn. But you said it because all of you have these branches in your network. You've been in them within the last week or two, so there's a reason why generative AI, when I asked, hey, create something that is a typical branch in the United States, like this is what they made because these are out there and they don't look good, they don't smell good, but they're out there. All right, so that's disclaimer number one. Disclaimer number two is, look, the title of the talk is Cool Shit That Banks Can't Do. So the disclaimer is, I'm not here saying that you can't do it. I'm not even here saying that it hasn't been done before. But what I'd like you to do is open your eyes to the possibility that maybe there's some crazy stuff out there in the world that if we looked outside of our little bubble called financial services, maybe there's some other industries doing some cool shit that we could steal and start to put into banks and credit unions. So in a way, I almost want you to think about like the next 16 minutes or so as like you're going to a car show and you see like a prototype vehicle or a conceptual vehicle that you're like, they're never gonna build that thing. And you're right, they are never going to build that thing, but there are parts of it that you might grab, parts of it that we might say, yeah, we're gonna go put that into the new vehicle. So I'd like to talk to you about some cool shit that I've seen recently. And I don't know if you guys have seen the new elevated Taco Bell. All right, the new elevated Taco Bell is pretty cool. It basically aimed to fix a problem, and that problem was DoorDash and Grubhub. And the degree to which DoorDash and Grubhub were clogging up the drive-thrus of normal customers that were just coming through to get their burrito because they were high and they needed a little snack, okay? But there's another interesting sort of spin when I started to think about the elevated Taco Bell. I thought there's another problem that I don't know if they were solving for this problem or not. But I thought, what if that were a bank? What's another problem that banks and credit unions have when sourcing locations is acreage. There's only so much land in a lot of the markets that you all are trying to go into. We typically tell our clients, half an acre, dead minimum, is what you need to be able to put in a branch, especially if you want a drive-thru. Well, not if we lift the whole damn place and we put the drive-thru underneath. So that's what we've done with this particular conceptual model, is we've thought, what if we had ITMs or ATMs underneath the space, and oh, by the way, let's have this puppy really pop at night. We are seeing great use in our new designs using transparent LED, which is what you see upstairs right now, is that transparent LED really helps bring the brand to life and shows off some really cool stuff. Why should your branch simply be a billboard during the day when we can really make this thing pop at night? Now, Taco Bell, you can't go upstairs. That's just a kitchen. You want to go upstairs in this branch and see what it looks like? Yes or yes? Yes, okay. Let's go upstairs and see what this branch looks like. We are really hot on micro branching. I love the hub and spoke model. We have a system we call Junction. We actually build the branch at our office in Arizona, and we bring it on site and we assemble it like furniture. It's everything that you see that looks like wood. And so that's actually what we put in this prototype. It's got a recycler, it's got an office, it's got a space for a teller. You could do a video banker room if you wanted to, but it puts a very small, concise, consultative space right upstairs, right above the drive-thru, on a smaller piece of real estate that, oh, by the way, is gonna save you a little bit of money. Cool design, is this cool shit banks can do? Lame again. Give it to me a little louder. All right. I love the old car hop drive-thru. And I don't know if Vikas is still in the room, but are you still here, buddy? Yeah, I'm psyched for you to see this. So I love the old all-American drive-up. In fact, the A&W restaurant in the lower right is in Middlebury, Vermont. And back in the day, I used to work in radio, and I did their commercial for the A&W drive-in in Middlebury, Vermont. And, nationally, we would think of Sonic. Earlier today, we heard a little bit about the possibility of simply driving up, but I heard Vikas say, I would love to try to figure out a way to bring the outside inside the branch. And we had the exact same thought. We thought, is there a possibility to blend this idea of the drive-up experience, the all-American Sonic drive-up experience, but also go ahead and bring something outside in? And so I'm imagining an environment where maybe I schedule an appointment. I think appointment setting is one of the key fundamental ways that a branch like this would become successful. Because not only do I have an appointment, but I know what parking spot is mine, and that aligns to the office of the person that I'm visiting, or that aligns to the ITM or the ATM that I might be leveraging. And oh, by the way, it's a lot of office space within this particular branch location. Can we offer this as community space, co-working space? Could we even lease out individual offices within this space to COIs of the community who might want to share? I'm just saying, I'd be really excited to see my bratty kids running around in this courtyard while mom and dad are trying to conduct some of their banking. So again, the idea of the drive-up experience, bringing the outside in, and I do think it's kind of cool that we call them branches and we put branches in the middle of this location. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one as well. I have two more to show you that are going to be a little bit more on the extreme side. I think the drive under, y'all could probably build that tomorrow. I think you guys probably see like, all right, I get that one. And even this one is still a little like, kind of out there. It looks like Apple's headquarters, but still kind of cool. I get where you're going with that. Store in store. We see it everywhere. We see it at Target when you go and you've got Starbucks in there. My local Kroger's got the Starbucks in there. I've come to depend on it, in fact. Like I can count on that when I go to my Harris Teeter grocery store, I've got my Starbucks there, and that's perfect. We've seen a number of banks also try to squeeze in co-working space. Community rooms. We've heard that phrase throughout the day today too. The problem with the community rooms, can we just be honest as a group, is we put them in and then they end up looking like this. And they generally sit empty and they're completely uninspired. And by the way, I want to shoot whoever the person was who installed the television in this particular picture because they have the cord hanging down and that annoys me more than anything. So we took this idea of co-working, we took this idea of store in store, and we played around with it a little bit to ask ourselves and to really challenge ourselves, and I want you to do the same thing, is to challenge yourself. We have this big branch. How many of you, quick show of hands, how many of you are saddled right now with branch buildings that you own or you're locked into long-term leases and they're like 5,000 square feet and you're like, I don't know what to do with this space, too big? Yes? Okay. In this idea, we said, what if we push the bank almost out of view? Grocery stores have done something brilliant forever. They put the milk in the back. And so we put the milk in the back. And I would encourage you to think about what does that mean for you by putting the milk in the back? Putting the transaction and the consultative area as far back in the bank branch as you possibly can so that there are other engaging things that the consumer can do as they come through the space, which in this particular example is mixed-use retail. Think of all the small business owners in your community who are selling on Etsy, who are selling their stuff on Amazon, who would love to be able to showcase their wares in a retail environment, but they simply are not going to have that ability to pay that rent and get that retail space. You have the space. You want to say you're true to a small business owner? Give up your space to small business owners. That's what you're looking at right now, is these vignettes that theoretically could be rented on like a monthly basis to a small business owner that they could locate their wares within your bank branches. You see we put an Amazon dropship location in this branch as well. Let's give it another purpose. And we also grabbed Hyo-sung makes a bionic barista. So if you don't want to dedicate like all the space for that particular coffee experience, you can get the bionic barista and kind of put it in the corner. All right, last sort of story I want to talk you through. If you were here last year, you heard about my family's love for cruising, and we had just come off of Icon of the Seas. Has anybody ever sailed on Icon of the Seas in the room? Nobody? Not a soul. Okay. So it's the biggest cruise ship in the world, only to be outdone this August by its twin, Star of the Seas. What Royal Caribbean does, they're brilliant. They make every ship 1 foot bigger, just so they can always have the biggest cruise ship in the world. So what I shared with you guys last year was that my Gen Z daughter, when I asked her, what are you most excited about when you're thinking ahead to your trip on Icon of the Seas? I said, what are you most excited about? She said, Dad, I want a picture of me in the Pearl by myself. And the Pearl is the architectural element that you see on the screen right now. So that was her pre-cruise vision for what she thought she was going to be really excited about. Her post-cruise feedback of what really excited her was a little bit different. I want to tell you about that, but before we do that, I want you to just learn a little bit more about this ship and what they put into the design.
It's beyond anything we can imagine.
Something for everybody.
Amazing ways to connect.
Colorful, it's vibrant, it's bright.
Innovative.
It just is next level.
Excellence in design.
For the bold, for the brave, for the fearless.
Unrivaled pool deck experience.
An oasis in the middle of the ocean.
Tremendous design work.
Something for everybody.
Hard to comprehend without actually being there and experiencing it.
The absolute ultimate family vacation.
The best live music experience.
Lots of different opportunities to dine differently. Over-the-top presentations with cocktails.
Some of the most iconic cruise spaces we've ever done.
Staterooms at their highest level.
Going to take our best in world entertainment to a whole new level.
There was only one name that really fit well in the ship that was going to deliver the best family vacation experience in the world, and that's how we came up with Icon of the Seas.
When you watch guests come on board the ship and you see them kind of going, wow, that's when you know you've got it right.
Oh, I love those faces of these kids getting on the ship and seeing like I can't believe it. And so for my daughter, the moment for her was when she found the hangout places. Those after-hours places where other teens that she met up with, those were their spots. And what I found was they were all elevated. Where's my friend Justin from A Legacy? Where are you, buddy? Homie, this is your headquarters, man. We just blew it up. We turned your headquarters into a cruise ship, man. That's what we did. So before I tell you a little bit about this space, our design team at DBSI put so many hours into creating cool shit that banks can't do that we actually have a watch party going on right now at our office in Chandler, Arizona, and they're watching this live right now. And I want to personally thank them for how much work they put into this. If you'd give them a round of applause, if you thought this stuff was cool. I want to talk for a minute about headquarter branches. For whatever reason, headquarter branches are always shoved off to the side. They're like an afterthought. They're not at the heartbeat of the lobby of the headquarters. They're almost like a separate building. And I think of like my wife works in compliance for a bank, and I would think about her being in the headquarters of her bank branch. And how would she think about her job differently if every time she walked into the building, it was the branch? She was seeing customers interact. And so when we took a look at what would we do if the branch were right in the center of the headquarters, we thought about those co-working spaces where people from the community, people from the bank or the credit union, the customers, the members, there was no walls in between. Everybody was meeting and engaging and interacting in the same place. But I really did think about Icon of the Seas, and I thought about those levels. Like this level you see right here, like that's where my daughter was hanging out all the time, was in the Aquadome with her friends after hours, and that became like the meeting spot. But the other thing that cruise ships do, which is pretty cool, let's zoom out and let's see how this puppy pops at night. Because we got to bring a night vibe to our locations too. We need to make our branches cool 24 hours a day. We want to be able to engage and host events and have world-class hospitality with all of our customers when they come into our branches and when they come into our headquarters. So, I have 4 key asks for you as you think about cool shit that banks can't do. Think outside of financial services, for goodness sake. Don't forget, this event was born out of a retail conference. Keep thinking outside of financial services. And don't borrow ideas from outside of financial services. Outright steal them. They ain't gonna care, okay? We've been saying actually earlier today, how many banks and credit unions have gone and would go to retail spaces? A lot. How many retailers would come to BankSpaces? No. Let's push them. Let's show them some things that maybe retail might actually want to steal from financial services. And for the people in your organization who say, we can't, fire their asses, all right? Grab all the people who say no and put them into the same room, and let's turn those no's into yeses like we heard earlier today. And if I was fortunate enough for you to have listened to the Banking Transformed podcast with Jim Marusa about a month ago, where I was honored to be a guest, I said, dare to be different. And that's my number one ask of you. If you were to accomplish nothing else here during your entire visit to BankSpaces, it is to find one way, and one way only, where you can dare to be different. If you'd like to talk more about that, be along on the journey. If you want to show some of those videos to some people from your bank or credit union, hit that QR code, link me on LinkedIn. Let's chat throughout the cocktail hour later today. And I want to thank you guys very much for your attention this afternoon.